WWE SummerSlam is just 5 days away. This coming Saturday, the go-home Monday Night Raw is in the books. What's going on, everyone? Good mic work. Back at you as promised to talk about Monday Night Raw. I got to tell you, man, it's unbelievable how WWE is able to accomplish this. But as somebody has already pointed out in the chat, that this has been a very underwhelming build to SummerSlam. But the card looks actually really, really good. I mean, there's a couple matches we don't love, but overall, I think the card is pretty stacked, should be pretty interesting, and should give us a pretty good show. So only WWE can take a card that's great on paper and then just fuck up everything else around it. So it's been pretty underwhelming. A lot of that's been the theme in the last few years. You know, go home shows to WrestleMania. The last couple of years have sucked, and some of the post-WrestleMania Raws have sucked. Hopefully the post-SummerSlam Raw won't suck 1 week from tonight, because I'll be there in San Diego, and I leave this Friday for Vegas to go to SummerSlam on Saturday. So I'm going to be in attendance. I'm hoping to see some great things, but the build-up here and the lead-in has not been great. I have a feeling SmackDown on Friday will be decent. WWE is not going to want to phone in an episode right before CM Punk makes his long-awaited debut, or return, to wrestling for the competition. They're probably going to throw some pretty decent shit at us, I would think, on Friday if they're half smart. So, you know, they might finish out the week well, and SummerSlam is going to be a pretty good show. But, you know, leading up to this, it hasn't been, you know, really that wonderful. And tonight's segment, main event segment with Bobby Lashley and Goldberg, was very formulaic, very predictable. You know, if you kind of think about it or do the math here, you know, based on Goldberg kind of one-upping Bobby Lashley tonight, I think he might have done the same thing to McIntyre, I believe, too. You know, that kind of bodes well for Lashley. I've never really been terribly concerned that he's going to drop the belt to Bill anyway, but, you know, this felt like it made it a little bit more official. So I think overall the show is going to be really good. But, man, the lead-in and the build here, you know, this Raw was just a lot of nonsense again, which tends to be the norm these days, even with the fans back. But we'll talk about it. I want to hear what you guys think. Give me your letter grades, number grades, whatever you thought of the show. Let me know in the chat there, and where you thought its weak points or strong points were. Looks like we got a couple of new matches added for SummerSlam. One of them is Eva Marie versus Alexa Bliss, which we'll talk about. Big fucking yawn there. And as predicted, as we laid out last week in the Raw review, pretty much set the table for exactly what took place tonight. We knew we would get a coming together of Randy Orton and Riddle, and they would challenge for the tag team titles. And that would be made official on tonight's show. And I believe they at least laid down the challenge. I don't know if it was officially accepted or not, but that match is going to be happening at SummerSlam. So we basically got another 2 added there, and that rounds out the card. We'll go through it later, but I think somewhere around 10 matches. So we might have capped off there, and that might be it. So we'll see if they add one final one this week on social media or throw something at us on Friday for SmackDown. We'll see, and we'll go from there. But we'll run through the SummerSlam card later on. We'll touch on a couple of little news tidbits, not much though. I've been very busy. Finally had a day off today, so tried to play catch up a little bit, so I don't have that much in the way of wrestling news, but we will get into detail about SummerSlam and tonight's Raw and that sort of thing. I wanted to let you guys know as well my video schedule for this week, because I am going to SummerSlam. I'm leaving Friday, so unfortunately I will not be up here to review Rampage unless I do something on my phone from my hotel room. I did that a couple of years ago for the SmackDown debut in Staples Center, or the new SmackDown, when Brock beat Kofi in 5 seconds. So maybe I'll do something like that, but otherwise Friday and Saturday I won't be around to do videos because I'm going to be at SummerSlam. But Sunday I'll be hauling ass home to watch TakeOver, and I'll be up here to do a review that night. But prior to the weekend, I'm off this Wednesday, so I'm going to be up here after Dynamite. We're going to do a full AEW Dynamite review and speculate and talk a lot about Rampage that's coming up a couple of days later. And then the very next day, Thursday, this coming Thursday, I will give you my SummerSlam predictions, and that will come sometime in the afternoon, probably 2 p.m. here on the West Coast, 5 p.m. Eastern, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'll be up here for SummerSlam predictions. So you get me tonight, Wednesday night, Thursday afternoon, and then not again until Sunday when I'm up here to review TakeOver and to tell you guys about my SummerSlam experience. And just finally today started researching bars to watch Rampage. I think I've got one narrowed down. It's called Beer Park. It's on the main strip across from the Bellagio. Looking for a place that I can likely watch CM Punk's debut. So if you guys are going to be in Vegas or anybody's going to be there and you have any ideas or know of a place that might be showing this, let me know. Otherwise, I'm kind of peeking around, sniffing around some sports bars in the area there, ones with multiple TVs, and I might even call and talk to them a little bit and see if there's a way to kind of have a place to watch that. I think it'll be fun. So I'm looking into that too. Hopefully I'll have some good stories for you this weekend when I'm up here for the TakeOver review in terms of what I saw and how the show was and all that kind of stuff. So that's what's on tap for the rest of the week. We'll jump into a couple of news tidbits here and then talk about Raw. Let me say hi to the chat. Sorry, I moved my monitor a little bit so I could read it better, but it was a little askew, so I wanted to fix it. Let's start with Divine Ricks. Thanks for the $5 earlier on, my friend, and welcome back. Hey, Greg, the SummerSlam card is looking great. Yeah, I was kind of saying that. I'm looking forward to TakeOver and Rampage as well. Enjoy yourself, have fun, and be safe this weekend. Thank you very much, my friend. It is looking like a pretty awesome weekend of wrestling, if you think about it, because Friday Night SmackDown will probably just be meh, but Rampage is going to be history-making. I mean, and it's in the United Center, packed house, CM Punk. It's going to be nuts. So really interested to see what kind of number and rating they pull for that, because we got the news on Friday's Rampage. The debut episode got about 750,000. I think I projected it somewhere in 500 and 600,000. So this exceeded my expectations. I just wasn't sure about the time slot, first night, Friday, that type of thing. But that's kind of a good sign. And if CM Punk can't push that over 1 million, that would be pretty surprising. I think a lot of people are going to be tuning in to see that. Which means they probably will see a significant drop after the fact. But you would think that CM Punk is going to give that rating a huge spike next week. So I'm really curious to see what that number is. But then when you think about Rampage, and then the very next day we've got SummerSlam, and then after that we've got TakeOver. Yeah, not a shabby weekend here. It's going to be really exciting, and there's going to be a ton of stuff to talk about. So I'm looking forward to this weekend and finally getting back up here after everything's over to talk about it with y'all. George Morris is back. Good to see you, man. Appreciate the $5 from you. 0 out of 10, of course. Miserable day at work. Several patients were pissing themselves and farting and pooping their pants. It stunk very bad. I would imagine it would. I've never been really that that happy with the way piss and farting smell, so I can imagine that's probably a pretty uncomfortable environment. Sorry you always just go through the worst shit, man. I don't know how you even manage to tune into these streams with all the crap you've got going on, but best of luck to you, and thank you for your very, very awesome rating as always. Chris Ludecki's back with $5. Greg, travel safe to Vegas. Here's this $5 for therapy for having to suffer through Raw. Yeah, tell me about it. Also, if I move to San Diego, would you recommend Carlsbad? Carlsbad is super nice. Yes, it's a little north of where I'm at, but Carlsbad is nice. My sister lived there for many years, and there's some good areas up there. It's super nice. Lots of good food and good beaches and all sorts of nice shit up there. Legoland. So, yeah, move to Carlsbad. You will love it. It was an episode of Raw, I'll say. That's interesting. D, we got some D minuses, D plus, C minus, 3 out of 10. Yeah, these are not very good grades, and I kind of got to agree. Tonight's Raw was just, a lot of yawning, because even, and as we'll talk about here in a minute, even with the Randy Orton and Riddle stuff, which I think was the most fun stuff we had of the night, it was still extremely predictable. You knew that all this shit they were going to do tonight with these 4 guys was just going to lead to the challenge and the acceptance. So it was a matter of them just trying to make it all entertaining, and Riddle did. It was very good, but they did the 2 singles matches, and then finally they had to come together and challenge for the titles, just like we laid out last week. So you kind of knew from the beginning, from the onset, as soon as Randy Orton opened the show, what the result of this was going to be before the night was over, that type of thing. So you kind of already knew the destination. It was just a matter of, if you liked the journey or not. And it wasn't bad, but it was just, super predictable. So, that's, that hurt Raw in a lot of ways too, just because you kind of knew it was going to happen, and everything else was just underwhelming is a good way to put it. Nothing too crazy, earth-shattering or anything like that. And I think WWE can always do better promoting their pay-per-views, because sometimes you don't know what the hell they're thinking half the time. Deshaun Robinson, good to see you, man. Thank you for the $5 as well. After it was announced today, I plan on going to Survivor Series in Brooklyn. That's right. That was announced today. That's awesome. My hometown later this year. The other 2 I've been to were 2011 and 2018. That's cool. I know 2011 was in MSG, right? And then 2018 must have been too. Maybe that was in Brooklyn. I don't remember. That's awesome. I'm glad you're going to that. Big 5 pay-per-views are always a hoot. It should be a blast. Take lots of pictures. Best wishes to Brian Knobbs of the Nasty Boys. Not aware of his situation. I'm guessing he is not well. Haven't had a chance to take a look at too much wrestling news today. Is not doing well physically. A GoFundMe has been established for him. Isn't he friends with Hulk Hogan? Hopefully Hulk will step in, help out a little bit. Best wishes to Brian. That's sad. Timu, you've decided to give WWE a chance for a month after years of not paying any attention, and after SummerSlam, I may go back to not watching. It's just boring, not even bad, just boring. I hear you. You know, at least we've got SummerSlam here. At least this is going to be a good show, an exciting show. Shit's going to happen, and that's all great, but, you know, what do you do after the fact? What are you going to do in the fall months and September and October? Is it just going to be the same nonsense, the same shit? We'll see. But at least SummerSlam is going to be good. Royal Rumbles and Manias are generally always good, even if the build and the lead-in shows and the post shows all suck. The shows, you know, themselves are usually pretty good. So I think we at least have that, and hopefully they'll lay some groundwork for some interesting storylines after SummerSlam with the potential cash-ins and title changes and things we could have, and you know, big-time matches on the horizon for Survivor Series. If it's going to be in Brooklyn, as we know now. So some of those rumors about The Rock and stuff might come to fruition. So it could be an exciting fall. Hopefully it will. And luckily for us, we got competition now. Jordan Karg, thank you for the $5 as well. Went to casino Saturday night. Some dude sat down with us for a second. We all did a double take because it was Pat McAfee. He was going to say hi, but he left. That's awesome. You never know. You know, you can just be sitting there somewhere in the world and somebody famous sits right next to you. I've had it happen myself many times. That's awesome. It's too bad you didn't say hi. He seems like a guy that would probably engage a little bit. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? And act a little crazy and give you a thrill, probably a picture. That's awesome, man. Zane G, thank you for 5 as well. Yo, mic work. I know it's early in the news and stuff can change. Possibly Rumble moving to February to avoid the NFL. That's interesting. Well, by the time you get to late January, you're just, I guess you're in the middle of playoffs, I suppose. Yeah, so, you know, it depends on if, you know, if they have the Royal Rumble, you can just schedule it for the week when it's not, you know, Championship Sunday, I suppose, if it's a wild card week or something, but that would have to come earlier in the month. I think sometimes it works out to where it's not near football or something if it's later on. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard that rumor. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I could see that though, but the only thing I would really be concerned with if I was them, you know, like I said, if it was, you know, the AFL or the AFC and NFC championship games, if it was just a normal playoff week, can't affect it that much, can it? I don't know. Charlie and Nathan, good to see you in here as well. Do me a favor and smash the thumbs up button for me. I would appreciate it. And we'll get started on the Raw results and all that good stuff. We've got, pretty low audience in here right now, too, so we'll keep shooting the shit a little bit. But like I said, AEW Rampage drew a 750K viewership on Friday night, so CM Punk's debut this Friday should be very interesting to look at that number, you know, and what they're actually going to pull and draw for that. I can't wait to see, you know, what it winds up being, because if it's significant, if they can get that to like 1.1, 1.2 million, you know, that's going to be money well spent. If they don't do much of a rating at all, that's probably going to worry AEW just a little bit. But I think CM Punk is going to do wonders for that rating, and that's going to drastically increase. I can't wait to see that moment. I just can't wait to see it. It's going to be interesting. We've kind of been waiting for it for like 7 years. A lot of people have pointed out an interesting swerve. It would be really funny. We know it's not going to happen, but if anybody would do something like this, it would be CM Punk. What if he shows up on SmackDown? You know, or today, as CM Punk released the numbers, which was the, as I put on Twitter, the combination to his high school locker of 05, 11, 21. So 5, 11, 21, and a lot of people were quick to point out right away, 150,000 people all said the same thing. Those are the summer of Punks. Because in 2005, with the Ring of Honor stuff, that was the summer of Punk. Then he did it again in WWE in 2011, and then he put 21 on there, insinuating that this is also going to be another summer of Punk. So he's obviously coming back. We're going to see him again, but what if he just swerves everybody and shows up on WWE? 21 is actually the date of SummerSlam on Sunday, the 21st. You know, maybe he's trolling. That would be the biggest fucking swerve in the world. You would think that there would have to be something going on between Tony and Vince if that something like that actually got pulled off, especially for AEW to lean into these rumors as well and really make it seem like he's going to be there. And then he shows up on the other show. We all know that's not happening, but what a world or what a crazy moment that would be if something like that actually happened. But it won't. He's going to be in the United Center on Friday for AEW, and it's going to be awesome. Going to be really awesome. Can't wait to see that shit. We're going to have a lot to talk about next week on the Raw Review for sure. I saw that too. St. Louis is the rumored location for next year's Royal Rumble. St. Louis is a great wrestling town. Unfortunately, that does nothing for me. It's nowhere near me. It's right smack dab in the middle of the country, and it's not a place I'd ever go anyway, so I can't go. But in terms of a city that can pack out some wrestling fans, hell yeah, St. Louis deserves the Rumble. Bring it. I would love for them to do a Rumble here in San Diego at Petco Park. I think that would be so fucking awesome. So awesome. It would be warm enough here in January. They could pull it off. JJ Leg, thanks for the $5. Do you think it's possible that Punk shows up on Dynamite for a swerve of sorts in hopes that it gets more viewers for Rampage to see what happens? I don't think so, because I think you got to do the debut there. I mean, you have to do that in the United Center. If I'm AEW, I'm not saying anything about CM Punk at all, but you do have to wonder if they might let it slip on Wednesday. We'll see. I'm going to be up here to do a review that night. So I'm interested to watch Dynamite because we've got the Jericho and MJF match and shit like that. So they could, just flash them on the screen real quick or do some sort of a tease just to give us that final confirmation. Yes, we're not fucking with you. You need to tune in on Friday, and they want to try to get that big rating. I mean, a lot could be riding on this. So I could understand that from a business or rating perspective, they might want to say something, but I would not show his face. I would certainly not have him show up in person. No way. I would save everything for Friday and just let the fans wonder when he's going to come. He could open the show. He could close the show. He could show up just out of nowhere, but it's going to be Cult of Personality, and it's going to be a big deal. And I think at this point, we all know he's going to be there, so at least maybe try to surprise us with his actual physical debut, what he actually does. And if they can do that, I think, it'll make for a successful show, and especially if they wait for the end, because the fans are going to stay tuned in. That's probably what they're going to do, I would think. They might wait until the final segment or the end of the hour just to ensure fans have watched that whole time and they don't know when he's going to come. And he either shows up at the end of a match or he comes out and cuts a promo. I have a feeling Actually, I don't know. AEW doesn't have a track record with this type of thing, so I'm trying to think of how WWE would handle it, but maybe his first debut, maybe he doesn't say anything at all, but CM Punk is known for his talking, for his mic work. He's a very good promo cutter. How can you have him come out in his debut in front of that audience in that building in that city and not say a word? You feel like he's got us. So I feel like it might be, just maybe a confrontation with him and Darby Allin. If Darby Allin comes out there at any point in the night, or if Darby Allin is scheduled in the main event of that show, then at the end CM Punk could come out and kind of make that match official for All Out, which I think Darby is an excellent first opponent for Punk. So I'm just curious to see how it all breaks down and how it all shakes out on Friday, but I don't want them to say too much. I'd prefer it if they didn't say anything on Wednesday, but if they absolutely must, just give us some super small tease, like when The Fiend, they were doing all the Fiend shit, and sometimes they would run a Raw advertisement, and at the very end, they would just flash The Fiend's face on the screen, something like that, but maybe with those first two notes of Cult and Personality. Maybe if they're running a Rampage ad at the very end, you hear that or whatever. Oh, that's actually WWE added that edit. But something, maybe a couple of bars from that or notes from the song that you would recognize in a second, just for like 2 seconds or 1 second at the very end, just giving the fans that little wink, like, there you go, there's your official, type of thing. So if they said anything at all and they absolutely insisted on doing something, I'd prefer something like that, where it was just a tease and nothing other than that. No big announcement, no CM Punk graphic that's all elite, nothing like that. Just a quick little subtle tease, and then let everything just happen and unfold organically on Friday. If you're going to take 7 years off, when you come back, it should be a big deal. So I'm sure CM Punk's going to ensure that it will be one. So we'll see. Friday ought to be interesting. And then his run in AEW is going to be started, and he's going to be working programs. It'll be interesting to see, how he does now, how he looks in the ring. I know he's been training. You got to remember, too, his, failed attempt at the UFC. He had the guts to do it, and that takes balls in its own right. So, he's got respect, but he performed poorly, so, can he ever really realistically work a program with Jake Hager? Are the fans going to accept that he can actually give Hager a run for his money when every time he's faced somebody with MMA experience, we saw what happened, although he gave Brock a run for his money in 2013 in one of my favorite SummerSlam matches ever. So it'll just be interesting to see what Punk is like now. He's older. He's in his 40s, I believe now, or he's approaching it. So, how much he's changed in the ring, how much his style has changed, what he's like personally, what the hell's going on behind the scenes as he smooths shit over with Colt Cabana, what the fuck's going on. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that's probably going to come out after he gets going and his run gets going. And it's going to be exciting. We need this wrestling. Like he said himself, wrestling needs a kick in the dick, and we'll probably get that on Friday. And we'll follow that up with a pretty fun SummerSlam, I think, on Saturday, and a great takeover for sure on Sunday. So there's been worse weekends to be wrestling fans. That's for sure. I'm ready for it. I think what they do with him will kind of be a segment, unless you're talking about something else. Yeah, Deshaun, what did you say? Salamonster was asked this, but would you rather have Punk open or close the show? Salamonster leaned towards opening the show. I think opening the show would be for the best pop, especially if it was like a flat, cold open where, no intro or maybe you do the intro, but you just kind of fade into the crowd. You do a wide shot of the arena. Tony or whoever the fuck, or Excalibur welcomes us to AEW Rampage, and then you just hit the music and the fans, explode. But like I said earlier, if you want to really ensure that good rating, don't tell the fans when he's going to show up, and then have him come out at the end. That way fans have been watching the whole time, and you're probably doing some really good quarter-hour numbers. So it depends on how they look at it and how they want to attack this. If they want to attack it from a number standpoint, do something that's going to ensure they get the best rating, or do something that's going to ensure they create the biggest moment, or the best story or whatever. So they got to make that decision, and we'll see. So I kind of think opening the show would be good just for the pop. Closing the show might be better, just for AEW's overall momentum when he comes out, and they close Dynamite that way, and then the next day you get that good rating. That's gonna get them a lot of buzz too. But I don't know. Or he can just come in and run in the middle of the show somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. Open or close. I'm leaning towards open as well, but I'm kind of gonna be cool with whatever he does. And JJ Leg, did I read that one wrong earlier about you showing up on Dynamite for a swerve? I was talking about people thinking that he might actually show up on WWE. But no, I wouldn't do the Dynamite at all. I'd keep him on Friday. That is the building it needs to happen in. It's going to be great. United Center. Cannot wait. Oh, yes. Eva Marie getting a SummerSlam match. We got to get into that. I guess we got to talk about Monday Night Raw now, don't we? Let's do that. Y'all hit the thumbs up button for me if you don't mind. The only other thing I did have in my news I wanted to mention real quick was, of course, Ric Flair's appearance at Triple Mania and Kenny Omega successfully defending the Mega Championship against Andrade, and what was reported a last-minute change. I guess AEW had asked for the finish to be changed because Andrade was supposed to win the title. We all thought he was. We thought this was going to be the beginning of the unraveling of the Elite and Kenny Omega to where all he has left is that AEW title, and he's clinging to it. But they actually kept one of his belts on him, so he can still consider himself a belt collector for now. But Ric Flair was in Andrade's corner, and he showed up there, even put on a figure 4 on Conan, and dished out some chops to Kenny Omega. Some fans, they've got their Superman panties in a bunch over Ric Flair potentially getting in the ring and wrestling. I don't want to see the dude wrestle. I don't think he should. I think the extent of whatever he does physically needs to be limited to what he did at Triple Mania. Throw a couple of chops, put a figure four on somebody. It's totally fine, but let's not be taking our shirts off and having actual matches here. So I don't think it's anything to worry about yet, but you never know with Ric Flair. But I think he should not be getting in the ring at 72 or 73 years old, whatever he turns out to be. But that was a whole fun, wacky night of wrestling, and Kenny still hangs on to that title, so that's interesting for the future. And I thought for sure Andrade would win. I thought that would lead to Penta and Phoenix turning on Pac and joining with him. That's kind of where I thought it was all going, especially when Pac went out of his way to learn a little bit of Spanish for his homies and his boys, and then they might betray him in the end. I thought that would be cool. But now he didn't win the title. I don't know what the hell they're going to do, but interesting stuff. Wrestling's a very, very interesting form of entertainment right now. I'll tell you that. Mansur has a crush on Ali storyline. Opposite day. Thanks for the $2. Yeah, it's kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of Riddle and Randy Orton, because Mansur is so up the ass of Ali, and Ali's kind of like, God, get off me or whatever. It's kind of like the same deal, but yeah, he's approaching it a little bit differently than Riddle is, where Riddle is just a damn child. But speaking of Riddle, Randy Orton opened up the show tonight on Raw, and he talks a little bit and says that him and Riddle are going to go their separate ways, and Riddle ate an RKO for his troubles or whatnot. Riddle then came out and doesn't seem to be too upset about the RKO. He even said, he goes, I know that you love me and you're just trying to teach me a lesson, and I learned that lesson because I tried to do an RKO and it didn't work, and you were just showing me how to do it properly. Just trying to make it right in his head and telling himself whatever he needs to believe that Randy Orton is not sickened by his face. But it was kind of cute to see him say, oh, I learned my lesson, and he really thinks that RK Bro should be given another chance. So before Randy Orton can really respond, AJ and Omos come out to the ramp, and AJ winds up challenging Riddle to a match in which Riddle accepts by saying, all right, Skipper. There was just something about his delivery. Riddle is over. The crowd reacts to him. He's funny. I've always liked him whenever he's doing this goofy shit. Sometimes it's a little over the top and a little head scratching, but he's got some pretty hilarious and bonkers dialogue that I swear these people are just eating a 2 or 3 pop brownies and then writing the shit down because it's hilarious. And the way he's just pining for Randy Orton's love and admiration and respect is hilarious to watch. And he had no problem taking on AJ Styles. So we go to commercial, we come back, we get AJ taking on Riddle. Randy Orton leaves Riddle all by himself out there, to fend for himself against 2 guys, one of which is as big as 2 guys himself. And Omos just being on the outside of the ring, not really getting physical with Matt, but providing enough distraction to where he can't completely focus on AJ. AJ's able to turn the tables and hit him with the Styles Clash for the win. And then they kind of they beat down Riddle together after the match, as he's kind of abandoned by Randy Orton. So they cut backstage later, a couple segments later, and Riddle is like, he's just walking with his scooter. He's like kind of dragging his scooter next to him, and he's just got this super sad look on his face. And that new guy that replaced Chuck came in and asked him what was going on, and he's just like, I'm just sad, man. I'm just sad. And he just walks away so sad, and the crowd kind of goes, aw. So I was worried about his demeanor. He looks really fucking bummed out. This guy better not run into Baron Corbin backstage. They need to find some positive support somewhere, because they are both very, very sad people right now. So he kind of just wanders off sad, heartbroken. He feels like it's truly over. He did everything he could to, try to gain Randy Orton's respect. And he's just down in the dumps because his friend abandoned him. But we would see Riddle back later on, which was expected. After that, more of this Nikki Cross shit. So we've got Nikki ASH versus Rhea Ripley. Nikki, bless her heart, is just hilarious in this little getup. I just want to take her trick-or-treating. She'd get all the best candy. So she's back at Gorilla prior to the match, bouncing up and down, cuts the exact same promo that she's cut every week at Gorilla, and it's like they do it every week. And she says the same thing. And it's not getting a very good reaction from the crowd. They're kind of booing it. I admire Nikki's dedication to it. She is all in on it. She believes in it. You can tell in her work that she believes in it, and she has her moments, and some of it is funny, and she's had a couple of good outings with this character. She had that great match with Charlotte in which she won, that no-holds-barred deal or whatever, and she's had moments of greatness, but then they also, in between those moments, keep beating her every fucking week. So they do it again here. It's just Nikki versus Rhea Ripley. Charlotte comes out, by the way. Charlotte, who was actually at Triple Mania, she was there backstage cheering on Andrade. Apparently, WWE gave her permission to do this. She asked off to be there long ago because we knew about this scheduled match for a few weeks, months. So they let her go down there. So she was taking pictures with Andrade and Flair at Triple Mania. It was fucking wacky. What a world we live in. So she comes out there. She joins the commentary team at the booth during the match. Ripley winds up beating Nikki Ash with Riptide. And then after the match, Nikki dives onto Charlotte and attacks her. There's a big brawl in the ring, and Charlotte's out there taking bumps and heels, which can't be easy. And she's pissed. So she winds up finding Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce backstage later on or after the commercial. She wants revenge on the two of them because she was just out there to do her job as a commentator, and those two hoes attacked her, according to her. So she's pissed and wants to pull the earrings off and crack some heads. So Sonya and Adam says, fine, if you want to do that, you have to find yourself a tag team partner. So she says, good. So now we're going to get a tag match between Charlotte and a mystery partner against Nikki and Rhea, who just had a fucking match together, and our opponents on Saturday. Champion got beat again. Wonderful. Cut backstage after that to an MVP interview talking about Lashley's face-to-face confrontation with Goldberg later on. He orders some food and basically threatens Goldberg and says Lashley is going to kill you and you are fucked, is basically what he said there. Then we just get a riveting handicap match, 2-on-1 match. Drew McIntyre taking on Veer and Shanky. At least there's some stakes in this match. There's a stipulation, something on the line. If Drew McIntyre wins this match, Veer and Shanky are banned from ringside at SummerSlam because Drew and Jinder Mahal have a one-on-one match on Saturday. So if he wins here, Jinder is going to have no backup. So he wins, of course. Match goes on for a little bit. He overpowers him. He out-wrestles him. He does circles around these two guys. Claymores Shanky for the win, and they are officially barred from ringside. Drew then gets on the mic and talks some smack to Jinder and pulls out the sword and says, I'm going to cut you in half with the sword or some shit like that. So we'll see if, like, perhaps Jinder has another trick up his sleeve. You know, this is SummerSlam here. So Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal is something I would just like to have done on Raw or on the goddamn kickoff. So to put this match on SummerSlam with Veer and Shanky being banned from ringside, and in the promo after the match, Drew said that he's going to really make a moment and make an example out of Jinder Mahal, kind of promising something kind of big. So he's either going to use the sword on him, or maybe Jinder has got some crazy trick up his sleeve. I mean, I don't want to say his name. We don't want to see him, but it's a big show, and it's kind of going to have a WrestleMania feel. You know, will they bring in Great Khali, you know, to come in and help him out or something like that if he can still walk or get around? If he has somebody else come back, maybe Heath Slater turns up. I don't know. Slater, I think, is signed to Impact, I think. But maybe Slater comes back, or maybe Jinder just has something going on to where he can actually pull off an upset here on Drew McIntyre, because Drew just beating him is what we're expecting. But you know what? You know, you could tell more story if you did it the other way around. So, you know, if Jinder is able to get some help here, or, you know, have somebody backing him up, or somebody making a return or a debut or anything like that to help him get the win here, you could continue on with the storyline beyond, which is fine with me, because whatever Drew does, you know, away from the title is a nice break for all of us. He had a long run on the top as a challenger or a champion for a while there, all throughout the pandemic era. So, you know, they're giving him a break. So I can kind of see this going beyond SummerSlam. So maybe he'll lose. We'll do predictions on Thursday, and we'll talk all about it. Oh, man, we got another talk show. So now Miz and Morrison both have talk shows. We have Miz TV, and we have now Moist TV. They're really milking this Moist thing. Ooh, that sounded good. I hope WWE at least checked to make sure Moist TV isn't already a thing. We remember what happened with the sorority submission. Was it sorority society? No, it was a submission sorority. that they did a few years back, and it turned out to be like some porn fucking website or whatever. So they had to change it to whatever stupid faction name they came up with. So I hope they checked and made sure Moist TV doesn't already exist, but now it's the name of John Morrison's TV show. His inaugural guest is going to be, big surprise, The Miz. And I'm sorry, I'm completely out of the loop and was not paying attention to anything regarding The Miz's injury. I was under the assumption that his injury was legit, and he legit had a knee injury and needed surgery and was going to be on the shelf for 9 months. I had no idea this was a fake out. If this story came out in the sheets or the news sites, I missed it. So last week when he popped up out of that wheelchair, I'm like, what the fuck? I thought he was legit hurt. So anyway, forgive me if I reported him as actually injured, because he's clearly not. So he's going to be the guest on Morrison or Moist TV. And of course, Damian Priest shows up. By the way, the set is 2 chairs like Miz TV, but in the middle, you've got like a kiddie pool or something. I don't know what the fuck. So Miz is being interviewed. Damian Priest comes back out, because if 6 months hasn't been enough of Damian Priest and the Miz and Morrison shit going on, the only thing missing here is Bad Bunny. He's out there, tries to stir up shit between the two of them, get them arguing a bit. Miz recognizes that and says he's doing this on purpose. He's doing exactly what I do on Miz TV. This all leads to Priest challenging the Miz to a one-on-one match. So we already got Morrison versus Priest last week for like the 6th time in a month, or in the 6th time in a few months. And now we're going to get the Miz and Damian Priest again. So we've got that. The match happens after commercial break. Priest wins. During the match, Sheamus comes out. I think did he come out earlier and get on commentary? I think he did. He was out there, and after he won, or after Priest beat the Miz, Sheamus gets up on the announce desk and starts cutting a promo, but he's wearing that nose guard, which I actually liked. It looks like it's custom made for him. It's black, looks pretty cool, I mean, under the circumstances, but I think it fucks up his speech a little bit, because he's on the table, like screaming out this promo, but you can't understand. You can kind of understand what he's saying, but he's almost like mumbling and I couldn't figure it out, and I was actually laughing. I don't mean to make fun of him, but I think the mask is kind of affecting how the words are coming out, and it just sounded like this jumbled mess, this jumbled noise. And I heard a couple of words like Saturday and SummerSlam and fella and something like that, and otherwise it was just like, like how Arnold's like, blah, blah, it's kind of like that. I could not make out what he was saying. I was laughing watching Sheamus. So I don't know what the fuck he said to Priest, but I'm sure it was, I'm going to beat you at SummerSlam and you're not going to take my title. But it feels like Priest is going to take his title. They've been kind of high on him since he got there. Big high profile match at WrestleMania and the shit with Bad Bunny. And, at this point, kind of the only thing to do with him is put some gold on him. So it's kind of the way they do things now. So I think he's going to beat Sheamus at SummerSlam, which should lead, to a program, probably rematch, probably 2 rematches heading into the next pay-per-view before that whole thing finally wraps up. And Sheamus might turn out to be a pretty good opponent for Damian Priest, because Sheamus has done great work all year. And Priest has been impressing people ever since NXT. Could be, a recipe for a wonderful match. We'll have to see. After that, we got Mansur versus Mace. Mansur, like I said, is all up the ass of Mustafa Ali. He really wants to be BFFs with him, and Ali's a little standoffish. He's not so quick to be calling himself his tag team partner either. I say you give Mansur a scooter and just let him ride around like Riddle does at this point. He's taking on Mace, and he beats Mace. Yay, he's very happy about that. Kind of an upset there, sort of, the way they were making the match out to be. So I'm sure next week we'll get Mansur versus T-Bar, or Ali versus T-Bar, or just a tag match between the two, with possibly Mansur and Ali finally coming together to form an alliance. I think that's probably best for the both of them at this point. WWE's proven time and time again that they just do not push Ali, and Mansur has been under developmental for quite a while. He's made some Saudi Arabia appearances. He's been getting better. He's been training a lot, so he's ready. So, at this point, I think a tag team would be a good way to start for them. And they'll eventually, I think, come together and maybe form an actual team. In terms of Mace and T-Bar, they're still the leftover remnants of Retribution. I hate their names. I like them both as individual wrestlers a lot, but I don't like the pairing. A lot of people have been commending their work, and it's not wrong. They've been doing pretty good in the ring and stuff, but it's just you can't not think of Ascension. and what WWE thought of them as a team. They weren't bad either. They had a pretty good run in NXT until WWE just fucked them over. So, trying to do this type of team with the face paint and kind of, an ode or a nod to the Road Warriors and teams like that, didn't work the first time. So why are you going to do it with these guys who are pretty darn good, especially Dominic, singles wrestlers in their own right? So I feel like this T-Bar and Mace stuff is just temporary. They're just doing it now until they finally split and hopefully go singles or something like that. So I'm just not interested in anything they're doing at all. So hopefully this situation wraps up soon. But Mansur got the win on Raw. Good for him. After that, you guys have to help me. I need your help with this one. I didn't catch the finish of Randy Orton and Omos. I know it was a DQ. I just didn't see who got DQ'd. I just know that was the finish. You knew it was going to be a disqualification finish. Obviously, they're not going to beat Orton or Omos, and you knew this had to be the match that was going to set up the tag team title match at SummerSlam. This is the match. So something happens. Ref calls for the bell, disqualification. AJ Styles then jumps in, starts attacking Randy Orton. The two of them are beating him down. Riddle shows back up to make the save. Here we thought he sadly moped his way out of the arena and probably went home to cry in the corner with a blanket. He shows back up here to make the save for Randy Orton, runs off AJ and Omos, and then the two of them are in the ring. Randy Orton gets on the mic and says that Riddle has earned his respect now because you showed up and had my back when I didn't have yours, so I respect you, I guess, is the way he put it. And shook his hand and then gave him a hug, and Matt Riddle's face just lights up and like he got laid for the first time, and he's so happy. And that's when Riddle lays down the challenge to AJ and Omos, who are in the aisleway there, for SummerSlam to take them on for the tag team titles. Now, I don't think it was officially accepted. I don't even remember seeing a graphic for this match yet, but that will get confirmed if it's not already this week, I'm sure, or it's probably already confirmed right now that I think about it. So that was a nice moment. We knew it was going to get to that, and we knew tonight had to be the night to do it because SummerSlam is on Saturday. So that all happened. Good stuff there. RK Bro is back together. I fully expect for them to win the tag team titles, especially AJ beat Riddle earlier on, and Omos must have won by DQ here, or vice versa. I think that they will beat him. I think AJ will take the pin, and Riddle might get that pin back. I think maybe Riddle should get the winning fall for the team when they win the tag team titles, but I'm absolutely putting the titles on them on Saturday, and on Thursday when we do our predictions video, I'm not going to keep you in suspense. I'm picking them to win the tag team titles. They have to win the titles. Then they can implode down the line and later on, but as of right now, they will make a pretty fun tag team duo, and, if you can have them hold the titles for a little while, I think it would be fun to watch them face off against Mansur and Ali. That'll be a good match. Be a really good match. Could be fun as hell, and both teams kind of have similar stories a little bit, with one member not being too keen to the other, but they're kind of growing on each other type of thing. And I think they could tear the house down. Like, seriously, put those 4 guys in a few weeks in the main event of Monday Night Raw for the tag team titles and make it a good match, a competitive match, 3 commercial breaks, lots of near falls. And in the end, Orton catches, Mansur in a rookie mistake and pins him. But those 2 guys put up a hell of a fight and had RK Bro on the ropes. It would be a good way to make both of them, even in a loss. Something like that would be fun. A good match for the championships, a good championship match on TV. Should be easy to book shit like that. So if they win the titles, they've got some interesting challengers down the road, I think. Before we get into the next match, which I believe was it Cross? Cross and Hardy. Let me knock out a couple of more super chats that have rolled in. Since I've been talking, please smash the thumbs up button for me since the audience is a bit on the low side this week. But you know what? So was Raw, so whatever. Mango Salsa, thanks for the $2. Talk about Forbidden Doors. Herc versus Sonberg, book it. Sunberg, that's really funny. That's what we're calling him. Sunberg. I kind of think Sunberg versus Dominic would be fun as well. But Hook versus Sunberg would be interesting. I think Hook might be a bit older. than Goldberg's kid, because it was just a few years ago. He was just a pudgy little kid, little child in the ring, and that wasn't even that long ago. In my mind, in my years, and Greg years, as old as I am, 2017 was like 3 days ago. So, to me, he's still a little kid, but he's growing. Puberty, hell of a drug, man. Zane G, thank you for $5 from you. With Punk and Bryan making a debut in AEW, if WWE were to counter that, who would have returned in WWE's favor for the 50-50 balance in the ratings? Let me read that again, because I didn't get it. With Punk and Bryan making a debut in AEW, if WWE... Okay. I don't think they are going to counter it. There's nobody that really can. Those are the two biggest free agents wrestling has seen in like 25 years, at least at the same time together, because they also have similar history with each other, much like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall had similar history with each other. They teamed up and faced each other, about the same amount of times that Bryan and Punk did, and they were big names. They were available. They're going to the new competition on TNT. A lot of the same stuff here. So in terms of who's out there now, it would just be WWE bringing back somebody that's already been there. I think The Rock is a likely scenario there. John Cena's already back. Goldberg's wrapping up his last wrestling date, hopefully on Saturday. But I'm not sure if they're really looking to counter. I think WWE is just going to do their thing, and they're going to continue to suck, and they might throw a good SmackDown at us on Friday. But I don't know. I think knowing WWE and knowing the arrogance that they seem to have, they're probably not taking it as seriously as they should. They're probably doing everything they can behind the scenes to fuck with AEW a little bit, but internally they might not really be thinking that they're any sort of trouble here, because in their minds they're not doing anything wrong with the creative. In their minds, the booking and the storytelling on TV is Jim Dandy. It's what they think. So they're living in an alternate universe. So maybe this will be a way to shake them out of it. Daniel Mendiola, thank you for the $2. I missed Goldberg's son dab. Was he dabbing? I didn't even see that. Didn't even notice. I was barely watching. Usually during the main event segments, I have to start setting up. I turn on my lights and, get shit like that set up. So I'm kind of only looking at it. But I saw his kid there with the sleeveless shirt. Got a kick out of that. But I missed him dabbing and flexing. But Goldberg does a lot for his son, and he said as much in the promo tonight. Is that it for the chats right now? Up one more. Chris Mendenhall, thank you so much as well for the $5 to counteract all of the hype for AEW this weekend. Do you think there's any way they do a big heel turn at SummerSlam, even a Cena heel turn? I'd love to see that. You would think, AEW having CM Punk debut the day before SummerSlam is pretty awesome. I mean, that's going to dominate the headlines, the wrestling headlines. It's what everybody's going to be talking about. So WWE is going to probably want to try to stifle that and create buzz of their own. Hey, since we're all talking, we got something pretty cool going on over here as well. Another thing that they could do that I think would generate a lot of buzz and a lot of happiness amongst the wrestling community is if they had Big E cash in at SummerSlam over somebody, anybody, even Lashley, could be fun. Give him that moment in front of that crowd. I would love to be there in person to see Big E win the title. I would feel proud as a wrestling fan, and it's hard to feel proud of anything these days. And if I was just happened to be there for his moment, would be pretty cool, but you could also do something like a Cena heel turn. I mean, if there's ever a time to do it, it's this. Hogan and Rock kind of followed the same formula, and they were extremely successful with it. Cena is more of a Hollywood guy now. Cena is a household name. He really is, just like The Rock, just like Hogan, going heel, finally making that move, I think he'd be a good one. Plus, now with his acting experience and stuff, he'd probably be an even better heel because he understands, a little bit of, how to play a character and stuff. And he probably has learned a lot, in Hollywood and stuff. So that acting experience could maybe even help him in that heel persona. But WWE, I just, I know it's not crazy, but that Make-A-Wish stuff really does play a big role. He's been that guy for so long that, really is there for the kids and stuff. And to do away with that, would be tough at this point since he's kind of known for it, unless he just takes a little bit of a break from it and he does a 2-year run as a heel and then comes back to being a babyface and picks up where you left off. But, I mean, if they want to do a business-changing thing, I mean, Hogan's heel turn did change wrestling. It changed it big time. So, it's at least worth a thought that Cena's heel turn might do the same. We'll see. But they're going to have to do something big if they want to counteract the buzz that AEW is going to generate social media-wise and stuff and in trends and all that stuff on Friday. So that bodes well for us fans who are going to be there. We're probably going to see some pretty awesome shit. Resuming the Raw results now. Sorry about that. Karrion Kross is up next, taking on Jeff Hardy. So this is match number 3 in their series. And Jeff, I guess, requested this match because after his loss to him last week, he continued the beatdown on Jeff Hardy. So Jeff's pissed. He wants another match, but this interview is taking place at Gorilla, and he's attacked by Karrion Kross again. So Kross kicks his ass there backstage before they even go out of the ring. We go to commercial. We come back. Kross comes out first, followed by Hardy, who's not 100% because he just got his ass kicked, and then they had a little match. It didn't last very long. Hardy put up a fight, but in the end, Kross tapped him out or choked him out with the Kross jacket for the win. And it kind of looks like with that little beatdown, they might be doing a 4th match here between the two, and maybe Jeff gets some sort of a weird win back, citing the fact that you can only beat me when you kick my ass first or something like that. And maybe that's a way to get Jeff another win, but I would just end this here. It's already been weird enough what they're doing with Karrion Kross, so maybe we can move on from that. But since he did the little attack at Gorilla, it makes me wonder if there's another match in there somewhere. And don't forget, Kross has got, kind of a big match coming up on Sunday in 6 days at TakeOver, where he is undoubtedly, in my mind, going to lose the NXT title to Samoa Joe. So he might turn back up on Raw next week, pissed off, maybe a little bit grumpy, and Jeff Hardy could maybe take advantage of that and maybe even attack him or something like that and then challenge him to another match. And Kross, just dejected from the night before, also maybe not 100% since he's probably pretty beat up, and Jeff is able to catch him with another surprise victory, causing him to snap. And then next week we do match number 5, and he beats Hardy in 5 seconds and, kind of gives him sort of a rebirth in terms of being an angry, destructive monster. So maybe they do something like that. I don't know. But the match with him and Samoa Joe should be pretty good on Sunday, and TakeOver is looking good. The card's looking really good. I'm ready to see Adam Cole and O'Reilly. That's going to be good. And Raquel and Dakota, I don't think is going to be a bad match. I think it'll be super fun. I did not pay attention tonight to hardly anything that was going on with Alexa Bliss, Eva Marie, and Doudrop. All I know is Eva Marie and Alexa Bliss has now been made for SummerSlam. There was an earlier segment that I think was on Alexa's Playground where she was talking to Lily and talking about them, and then something else happened, and then we cut backstage to Eva slapping Doudrop a couple times, so that situation is coming to a head. From the minute she debuted with Eva Marie, they planted the seed that she's going to wind up splitting from her and not take any more of Eva Marie's shit. And now that Eva Marie paintbrushed her a couple of times, you got to think that probably at SummerSlam she might finally do away with Eva Marie for good, and maybe help Alexa Bliss win or something like that. I don't know, but it feels like the split is inevitable between those two. But didn't really pay attention to anything going on there in that weird-ass situation. Then we get a 24/7 title kind of match in the park. Reginald is being filmed in this park that I guess he came to find himself or whatever. And he was doing a lot of reminiscing about what the park meant to him and, how he used the park as a way to get in touch with things or whatever. R-Truth then shows up. I believe he's dressed as a bush or a tree or something. And he attacks Reginald. Tozawa is also out there as well. They're trying to get to Reginald. He basically just flips his way out of it and gets into a car and speeds away, and R-Truth and Tozawa kind of argue after the fact. So Reginald has kind of now adopted the role of R-Truth, kind of escaping with these title wins, and plus he's, younger and a lot more flippy, so some of his escapes can be a lot more extravagant, and they can be a little bit more eye-opening, the fact that he can flip his way out of there. Where R-Truth kind of relied just mostly on comedy. So anyway, Reginald survives to defend the title another day. And after that, we got that tag team match that was set up backstage with Sonya Deville, rocking the sleeveless suit, by the way. She looked very good. And Adam Pearce when Charlotte had demanded a tag team match against Nikki and Rhea. So Charlotte's got a partner. Her partner turns out to be, she's not like most girls. Nia Jax comes out there. I am into the hair. I like Nia Jax's hair right now, or she reminds me of Tina Turner. I just like it all frizzy or crimped, or what the fuck is it called, or a perm. I don't know what those hairstyles are called, but I like it. It suits her. She looks pretty hilarious in it. And last week she got, was it last week or the week before she got busted open hardcore on her face. So I'm glad that she's okay there. She turns out to be Charlotte's partner. Charlotte pinned Rhea Ripley for the win in this match. She kind of hogged the spotlight, took it away from Nia Jax. Nia was a little bit pissed about that after the fact, and Charlotte just made a statement that she wants to win the title at SummerSlam. So that match what it was what it was, completely unnecessary, and was mostly just filler. And that left us with the main event, Bobby Lashley and Bill Goldberg. Again, they did a whole lot of nothing here. It was really only about 2 moments. Goldberg comes out, cuts his promo, talks about his son, talks about how he did everything for his son when he came out of retirement, that he wanted his son to be able to see Goldberg in peak form, and it's very important to Goldberg. I mean, that's a total shoot, and I can appreciate that, and I can respect that from Goldberg. I'm just really tired of WWE putting him in these big, marquee matches. I don't think he needs to be involved to that degree. He can be there and even do a match, but these title matches are just getting ridiculous. So he cuts his promo. MVP and Lashley then come out to the ring, or they come out to the ramp anyway. They eventually get in the ring, and Lashley does some talking. This whole thing is just leading up to Goldberg delivering one line where he just says, "That's bullshit," and that's it. So he said bullshit on USA. Yippee. There's a little bit of a scuffle, and you knew it was coming. Boom, Goldberg hits Bobby Lashley with a spear. Lashley rolls out of the ring and retreats. Goldberg stands tall, the music plays, and the announcers sell the pay-per-view match on Saturday. So that's all that segment was. Pretty predictable there. You figured they were just going to do something small, because God forbid Goldberg tears a hamstring or something like that when they're having their scuffle. So it was very quick to the point. Lashley ate a spear. I'm sure he'll eat 1 or 2 on Saturday, but he'll kick out of those and eventually, hopefully, what I'm hoping he does to really make that statement, because I think a lot of fans wanted Lashley and Brock. And that could be a match we're still going to get one day. But the finish that I'm hoping to see is not what Drew did, Claymore in a pin or a spear in a pin. I want to see Lashley put Goldberg down with the Hurt Lock. Nobody's ever done that to Goldberg. Help me out, wrestling historians, people who know Goldberg's history better than me. Actually, I know Goldberg's history pretty well. To the best of my knowledge, nobody's ever put him down or submitted him, you know what I mean? Or choked him out or tapped him out or anything like that. Maybe when he was a heel in WCW, I'm not sure. But he's been pinned a couple of times, but never, completely toyed with, dominated. And if you saw Lashley's appearance on Broken Skull Sessions, which is a great watch, I still have 30 minutes left in it. I haven't completely finished it yet. But I saw the part where he talked about his wrestling style changing from the amateur wrestling and the German suplex style to where he's just now menacing, where he's intense and he just grabs your face and he just chokes you and he jerks you around and stuff. I would like to see him manhandle Goldberg like that. When he puts that Hurt Lock on and he just starts wrenching it back and forth, I would love Goldberg either to tap out or pass out to the Hurt Lock. I mean, that's how Drew, I think, lost the title, right? Or at least lost one of the championship matches, was that he passed out to the Hurt Lock. So just do the same thing with Goldberg. I think that would send a strong message that he's put 2 people out like that, 2 huge stars, one current star in Drew McIntyre and one legend like Goldberg, and to have that feather in his cap to do something to Goldberg that nobody has ever done is the only way in my mind to properly utilize Goldberg. So if you're not doing that on Saturday, I don't give a fuck about this match. I mean, if you're going to use Goldberg, at least use him the right way to where he can give credibility or a rub to a star that you have there established that could use something like that. It took Bobby Lashley a long time to get the WWE title. He's arguably at the end of his career now. They missed the boat on him before. And he was gone for so many years, doing MMA, doing TNA, doing other things. They have him back now. Now he's my age. He's in his early mid-40s, and he's the champion. He's got a couple of years left of mileage left as a top guy. So, fucking have him, annihilate Goldberg. I would love to see a squash. I think that might be a little bit more too much to ask for. I think Goldberg's going to get a spear or 2 in. He's probably even going to get a jackhammer in. I hope he doesn't, because that's going to make me really nervous, but he's probably going to hit a couple of his moves. I think Lashley is going to tap out, but I don't want to see, if it was up to me, I'm not even satisfied with Lashley pinning him. I want Lashley to beat him with the Hurt Lock. That's the way you do it. And Goldberg should be putting over the younger stars. He said as much. So if you're not doing that, I mean, that's the only thing I think that would help the fans stomach Goldberg in this environment, in this situation. If he's coming in to put someone over like he did at the Royal Rumble, I disagree with WWE's philosophy that you need these names, to sell tickets and shit. Bringing in Goldberg when he's been off for so long just to throw him right into the situation because you don't trust the talent you have, I think that's a horseshit way of doing things. But if they are going to do it because that's the way they operate and that's the way they think, at least do it to where your talent can benefit from that appearance and that legend coming in and taking the time, to be there. He's had his big run. He's had the streak. He's been a multi-time champion. He's got wins over the biggest names in the business, Hulk Hogan and Brock Lesnar and guys like that. He has nothing left to prove. To beat him decisively with Lashley, with the Hurt Lock, gives Lashley even more credibility. And when you do, in the future, do that big showdown with Roman or with Brock Lesnar, Lashley is, he's going to be a very, very formidable opponent. So that's what I'm hoping, is that it's dominant and decisive, and Lashley puts Goldberg down and puts him down hard. That's the only thing I'm really going to accept on Saturday. Otherwise I'm going to find it to be a huge disappointment. And if they actually put the title on him, I'm going to eat my seat. I'm going to rip the seat out of the floor, unbolt it, and just eat it right there in the middle of Allegiant Stadium. I just added my SummerSlam tickets to my Apple Wallet today, as a matter of fact, so they're there and ready to rock for when I enter that building and, go into a PPV. And again, I've got a couple of messages from some of you, so if you are heading to Vegas for SummerSlam and you want to meet up, just hit me with a DM over on the Twitters, and I'll let you know where I'm going to be Friday night, hopefully watching Rampage, and then maybe at the show. We can meet up at the show as well. So hook me up. Or hit me up, I should say. I think that does it for Monday Night Raw. That's all I have written down. I'll see what you guys have to say in the chat, answer some questions, and hang out for a bit. If you would do me a favor and smash that thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. Is Goldberg going to job twice this year, though? I think yes, because you have to think about it another way, too. According to the reports, Goldberg is contracted for only 2 matches this year. So unless he has been offered an extension or offered the opportunity to work more matches before the end of the year, if they put the title on him, that means the title is going to be held hostage until 2022. And we're going to be back to that. That's what Brock Lesnar did. He took that title away and left. We had no championship belt on Raw for how long was it? A year? It was crazy. So if he wins, that means we're not going to have that title featured anymore. And then what does everybody do? I think Goldberg he surprised me at Saudi Arabia. I still cannot believe they had him beat The Fiend. I was so certain it wouldn't happen. So if they did it then, they can do it anywhere. But I just think that where Lashley is in his, in his career, in his run right now, he's got a lot of momentum. He's a badass. He's believable. He's credible. He looks like a champion. He carries himself like a champion. And he's got the background and reputation, to back that up. And I think he makes a really strong WWE champion, especially when you have an extremely strong Universal champion on the other side. So to pivot and go to Goldberg, a guy that's only going to be working extremely infrequently, it would be a just ludicrous decision, and I cannot see it happening. So I'm going to go with Lashley because I think down the road, if he hangs on to the belt and Roman hangs on to the belt all the way until Survivor Series, you got a pretty big clash there. But you also have Big E lurking in the wings and shit like that. So, I can see, I could see Big E coming in and cashing in on Lashley. That might be fun. Or, Cena. I mentioned this the other day. We'll get into predictions on Thursday, but John Cena, I feel, has got a legitimate chance, perhaps, to actually win this Universal title. I haven't really been expecting him to this whole time, but given the promo on SmackDown the two of them had was very good. And I'm like, it ain't out of the question. He's teasing doing a CM Punk, blowing a kiss to Roman Reigns. I would like the person to beat Roman, to really, really benefit from that. A lot of fans are going to argue that John Cena doesn't need this type of victory, but, he was pretty adamant in the promo that Roman needs to be humbled and humiliated and brought back down to earth. And I thought there could be other guys like Brock Lesnar to do that to Roman, and so Cena being there, I was like, we've already seen this before, and Roman beat him. Roman beat Cena when he was suffering succotash pussy. Now he's like badass head of the table Roman, and they're not really referencing that previous program, which I think was back in, 2017 or whatever it was. They're not referencing that really at all in the current one. So, makes me think that maybe John Cena, and you got to remember Ric Flair has left. Ric Flair is going to be on AEW TV in just a matter of weeks. So do they want to take that record away from him now, ahead of, getting the jump on him, ahead of him going to AEW, just out of spite, just to be WWE, just to do what WWE does? Now, Flair leaving or not, I still think John Cena will win another world title one day and break that record regardless. But, maybe they make it happen a little bit earlier now, since, Flair's gone or whatever. I mean, it could happen. So if that did happen, that would be interesting, because now John Cena's got to come back and defend that title, and who's going to be the one to beat him, and is Roman going to get the belt back or whatever. But, I'm also very, very much into the idea of Roman Reigns having an uninterrupted run of a year plus, maybe setting a new record. He's already held it about a year now. If he holds it till Survivor Series, he might be beating CM Punk's record, right? Or maybe it was AJ that beat CM Punk. Did anybody beat CM Punk's record in 2011 and 12? I thought somebody did. Help me. Might have been Brock, actually. It's either Brock or AJ, or no one. Yeah, that's the thing. They could have Goldberg could easily be enticed into wrestling more this year. If they're going to put the belt on him, he's going to have to wrestle again. I've seen a lot of people predict a Goldberg victory and a Big E cash-in, but that kind of doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that to Lashley? Why would you do that to him? Why would you beat him just to pass the belt and then have Big E beat the guy that beat you? And then where the fuck does that leave Lashley? Now he's got this loss to Goldberg. Goldberg's going to leave and go away. It benefits nobody at all. It actually harms a lot, if you ask me. So if I'm doing a cash in, I'm having Big E cash in on Lashley, because you got to remember, Lashley is a heel. Goldberg is supposedly loved. So Goldberg is supposedly a big babyface legend. Big E is a very, very beloved babyface. And I think there's a big portion of the fans, like myself, who would mark out if he pinned Goldberg. But to the casual audience, you're probably going to get a bigger reaction if he beats a heel. Because if he beats Goldberg, there are, like it or not, there are Goldberg fans out there. And, that might mix the reaction. So if you want Big E, if you want to create this moment for Big E, you create that moment for him by having him cash in on a heel, I think. So I would like to see Big E cash in. I'd actually be okay with that. If he jumped over to Raw, won the title, and he was back around his New Day friends, that could be fun. But at the same time, it feels like creatively he's stalled out a little bit on SmackDown as well. And I could definitely see the possibility of extending the Money in the Bank run and have his cash in come later down the road. We still don't know if Big E, I guess Big E is going to get it back. I think did he get the briefcase back on the house show or something? I can't see them actually giving it to Corbin. I think his best bet is to go after the King of the Ring. So if they threw something like that in there, I'd be fine with it, but I don't think it would be a situation of Goldberg winning and then Big E cashing on him. That would be crazy to me. I wouldn't do it that way. But you're not the only one pitching that. I've seen it out there. A lot of people feel that way. BC Amplified fan, thank you for the $5. With the news about WWE still selling, pumping out new Wyatt merch, and WWE showing his videos to live crowds, do you think his release is a storyline? I don't think his release is a storyline. I think his release was legit. If they have decided or reconsidered and decided to bring him back, then maybe that is to explain why that stuff is there. I don't know any news about him coming back. But I'm sure WWE has seen the criticisms of a lot of fans saying, yo, that was one of the only things you were doing that we actually liked most of the time. And you release him, that's fucked up. They have had a change of heart before in the past with Matt Hardy and Daniel Bryan and some others. And with the Rockers, with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, a lot of guys got fired, and then Vince is like, okay, bring him back in. So, maybe it's a situation like that, and they're going to bring him back in, maybe along with Braun Strowman as well. But at this point, I'm ready for Wyatt in AEW. Just have him go there, see what he can do. Keep his regular name. Wyndham Rotunda would be perfect. That's all you need to do. He'd be wonderful. They edited him out of the signature opening. They did. I did hear Ric Flair's woo. That's still in the signature opening. That probably won't go anywhere. Oh, the Elias promo. Thank you, Timothy. I didn't even write that in my notes. I just thought when I saw it, I'd remember it. So he burned the guitar again. Did he say anything differently this time? I just know that Elias is dead. It looks like he's getting a repackage, which I think is great. He's been doing that gimmick for way too long. The gimmick and the look itself, I think, is fine. But WWE just doesn't do anything with it. He just does the same shit. Goes out to the ring, starts playing, gets interrupted, brawl, impromptu match, whatever. Same shit every week for years with Elias. So he's changing it up now. I'm excited to see what he does because I think there's talent there. He's got a good look, and there's no reason not to give him a chance. Yeah, of course WWE is going to own all the trademark shit to the Fiend. They wouldn't not own that. Chris Mendenhall, thank you for the $5 as well. To counteract all of the hype for AEW this weekend, do you think? Oh yeah, I got that one already. Sorry, Chris. I thought there was another one that I missed. Nope. Okay, we're good. We're caught up. Just wanted to make sure. Oh, he added a tombstone to that fire pit. Okay, so Elias is dead is what he's saying. And I agree that Elias should be dead. Faux show. Oh, wow. This Friday is the 3-year anniversary of the Shield reuniting to stop Braun Strowman from cashing in on Roman. I forgot how Braun even squandered away his Money in the Bank. I just remember he had it and he was unsuccessful, but I don't remember the circumstances. So that's what it was. He was going to attack Roman and the Shield stopped him. That's wonderful. Big E cashing in on Roman would make for a massive pop. I don't know why I've, been thinking Lashley so much. I mean, Big E is on SmackDown after all. And if John Cena is going to leave and go do that movie, that would give Roman something to do between now and then. Maybe WWE feels like, and I hate to think this way, but, maybe in WWE's mind, they're like, we're not really ready to strap the company to Big E. We got too much going on right now. We've got Roman and Lashley on top. We've got The Rock potentially coming back in. We've got Brock potentially coming back in. We've got a big Survivor Series in New York. Before you know it, WrestleMania is going to be here. It might not be the time to make him the champion and to invest in him in a healthy long run. So maybe what they want to do in the meantime is give him a quick one, because they know the fans are going to be pissed if Big E fails this cash in, so maybe they can say, okay, let's give him a quick run now. He'll hold the belt for a month. He'll lose it. Fans will be upset that they buried him and all that, but at least now he's a former champion, and we can go back to him when we're ready. I can kind of see them doing that and thinking that way. So Big E could come out at the end of John Cena and Roman or whatever, or even interject himself and make it a triple threat, which might be fun, and wind up winning, maybe beating Cena. That would be interesting, actually, because now you've got storyline after that. Big E could just come out because Big E is also, he's a babyface. So, he's not going to, babyfaces definitely take advantage, but he might not be the type of guy that wants to do that. So he might just come out in the middle of the match and just say, this match is now a triple threat. I'm cashing in my briefcase. And then he winds up pinning Cena to win the title. And that way you protect Roman. And now Roman is pissed. Maybe Cena even, now Roman is pissed at Cena and Big E. So if Cena leaves to go do the movie for a month or whatever it is, Roman and Big E can do their thing, probably work the next pay-per-view, and maybe you do, like I talked about, give the belt back to Roman. He beats Big E, wins the title back, and then he'll be going into Survivor Series as champion. Or you keep it off of Roman for a little bit, let him finish up with Cena, perhaps let him start something with The Rock, and just be kind of distracted away from the title, allowing Big E to run with it this fall and into the holiday season or something like that. You could do that, but Big E perhaps making it a triple threat and, pinning the other guy would be a great way to remove the title from Roman without beating Roman, and we could see that. And Big E would still win. Crowd would still pop for him. Crowd would be very happy that he won, even if he did pin Cena, I think the crowd would pop for Big E. Maybe a little bit more. So we'll see. I like those ideas, though. NXT being taped again, I'm okay with it because, honestly, the best NXT ever was when it was taped. So it makes sense in my mind. There's no reason to go live because you're not really head-to-head. Prior to them going on USA, the spoilers were out there if you wanted them, I believe, because it was at Full Sail. Fans were there, and results were leaked. So if you wanted to hear what happened on NXT, you could, and you could still tune in and watch great wrestling. I actually think it's fine, and it's one behind-the-scenes business decision in WWE regarding NXT that I actually agree with based on what they're doing with the show now. It's on Tuesdays. No reason to have it go live. really now. So I'm cool with it. Brock broke the record with the Universal title, if that counts. Yeah, it kind of does, I think. Records don't mean anything in WWE anymore. Some do. They're going to make a big deal out of John Cena winning that 17th title. You mark my words, they will. But they don't pay attention to too many little records. But the big ones, hell yeah, they still mean something. Oh, you don't have to look any further than the streak. It's one of the most legendary things in all of WWE, so records do matter. Who do you want to get a mullet? Vince should get a perm. Vince should get a mullet. Oh, I would love to see Vince with a mullet. You'd know he'd be losing it then if he got a freaking mullet. My God. Okay, so Roman and Balor had a title match on Raw. Strowman comes out. Roman pins Balor. Strowman attempts to cash in, then Shield music hits. Okay. So that's so funny because I probably have a review on my channel. I do. I have a review on my channel of that show and that whole situation, and I talk all about it, but I have no recollection of it. Short-term memory. Brian, thank you for that. About the info about the USA. You heard they're pissed and wanted a live TV product. Fuck you, USA. Doesn't matter. They don't understand that it doesn't matter in that. NXT wasn't needed to be live, in my opinion, unless it was going head-to-head with AEW. I mean, in a way, they should be kind of happy that they're doing it that way. But maybe it would avoid a lot of last-minute decisions. It would allow them to edit the show and tell the story they want. You got to remember, they are considering this developmental territory here, and there's a lot of people that don't have a whole lot of prime time and TV time behind them. So a taped environment, you can help, limit some of the, the not so good looking stuff that might make air on a live product. So I'm cool with it. USA can go fuck themselves. They're the ones that paid all this money for it and paid WWE all this money. They got buyer's remorse. That's their own problem. If they want to fix their TV product, if USA wants to really make their network a success, start showing Wings episodes again, like back in the day. Back in the early 2000s, like 2000, 99, 2000, 2001. I loved the Wings sitcom as a kid. And they would just play on a loop. It was like basically Wings would play on USA the way Ridiculousness plays on MTV now, like every fucking half an hour. Same shit. But that's what I used to love, USA. Now I couldn't care what they like or dislike. They can go piss up a rope. Yeah, you hear that. Barry's right. You hear that all the time. There's always a report coming out that USA Network's pissed at WWE. Oh, really? If I was them, I'd kind of be pissed at WWE too, because we're paying you a lot of money for you guys to provide a whole bunch of shit content. But, like I said, that's their problem, not ours. We just have to suffer through the nonsense. Big E cashing in at Survivor Series, I think, in a lot of ways would be better than doing it at SummerSlam. But, there is a couple scenarios that I do like, and him being in a triple threat and pinning Cena would be good. But then again, if Roman wins, but also it's one of the hardest fought matches he's ever had, and Big E comes out and cashes in on him, that could also be very fun. Crowd would appreciate that. It would be a massive pop, that's for sure, and he would certainly dominate the trends and the Twitters and all that stuff. Fans would be happy. There's really not a fan out there that dislikes Big E. He's pretty much universally loved. He's stupidly entertaining, almost too entertaining for his own good sometimes. You guys catch him on that house show like last week. There was the video going around on Twitter or social media where he's basically humping the briefcase in the corner. He's very limber, and he's got the briefcase like on the top turnbuckle, and he's on it, and he's thrusting into the turnbuckle while he's got the briefcase in front of him, and he's licking it. It is something to see. So look it up. Big E fucks briefcase. Can't believe that's a headline that'll actually produce results, but it will. Check it out. It's hilarious. So he's great. Fans would love it if he won, and I'd be rooting for it hard. The day that guy wins some gold, I'm going to be a very happy camper. He's an awesome dude. Sorry, just checking my phoneage. USA doesn't do anything new. Literally, they are like TBS. They do nothing but reruns of Burn Notice and Suits. I never watched either of those shows. I remember the 90s shows. I didn't watch them, but I remember all the ones that would come on before Raw, like Pacific Blue with the bike cops. That one was ridiculous. One of the girls in that show, I remember, was in Back to the Future too. That's the only thing I know about them. There was Silk Stockings that came on like in the early 90s before Raw. That was kind of like a crime, sex drama or something. And there's one more that was a Monk. Monk too, you'd see advertisements for a lot, but I never watched any of the burn notices or anything like that. So weird. I miss back in the day, USA Network. Barry, I think you said earlier also about, speaking of USA, that I think some seasons of WWE Superstars were added to the network. I think it was like 94. It's an interesting year for sure for Superstars. Talk about taping shows. They used to do 4 in a row. They used to do a month's worth of tapings back in those days. Be glad we're not doing that anymore. Yeah, Sonny, you're right. They'll make a big deal about Charlotte breaking her dad's record as well. You know she will. Feels like she's already there. They really fast-tracked her to the top quickly. And, boy, I'll tell you, I would love to be – I know fans hate Charlotte. They just hate Charlotte. But I would love to be in Charlotte's position right now. It would make me feel so good because she is bulletproof. They do not want to lose her. But at the same time, they understand that she now has most of her family in the competition. And, they're granting her permission to go to Mexico City, with Andrade and all this shit. They are basically letting her do what she wants because they know that she holds all the cards. As much as Charlotte is protected and considered the golden child and the cornerstone of the women's division, she still has a contract that will end at some point. I don't know how many years she's signed on for. I assumed a lifetime, but hell, if she wants to ever pursue other opportunities, she could at the end of the contract, if she at least listens to what AEW has to say. Could you imagine, AEW landing Charlotte, luring her away from WWE? I would have never thought in a million years that would even be a remote possibility. But if your dad's there and your fiance's there, shit, and you've run hard in the WWE, you made history, you've done everything there. I think Charlotte will always be back in WWE and be into the Hall of Fame and all that. But she could say, hey, this is the time in my life where I want to go work 3 years somewhere else. And you know what, Vince, I'll be back, but I'm going to go, spend my dad's last years with him, or whatever her reasonings could be. Who knows? She might think about it. It's not out of the realm of possibility, I suppose. But, in the meantime, she can pretty much get away with whatever she wants. I mean, aside from a wellness policy violation, which I don't think Charlotte has those kinds of problems, anything aside from that, she's probably in a pretty good position to not have to ask for anything, but to tell WWE. That's what I would do, because they're such assholes. They're so arrogant. I love it when somebody turns the tables on them. It makes me feel very good. That's why Adam Cole probably had a ton of leverage in his meeting with Vince McMahon. I would like Charlotte, when she's calling management to do something, she goes, but yeah, by the way, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, this is what I'm doing. And if you don't like it, fine. Click. They're probably going to let her do whatever. So I kind of like the position she's in. Anytime that, anybody can get out from underneath WWE's control while still working there at the same time, I kind of like that. That's what I would aspire to be if I was a wrestler. I want to make it to where I am unpunishable, bulletproof, unfireable. I can do anything I want and get away with it. That's what I would aspire to be if I was a wrestling fan or aspiring wrestler at this point. So Charlotte's in a good spot. Okay, so they added it. Barry, you're talking about the Superstar shows. They used to add a year of a show every month. Wish they would go back to that. Yeah, I haven't even looked through the content and what exactly they're missing. I think the transition is mostly taken place now. All the stuff that was on the network is now on Peacock, minus just a few things. But yeah, there's probably still a lot of content missing. I'm trying to think. I got a good amount of Superstar shows from that era, and I remember watching them every day or every week on USA. That was fun stuff, man. Bret Hart and Bob Backlund and Diesel and Shawn and Tonka and $1 Million Man. And oh, my God. So much crazy stuff. Yoko and Taker. How come Raw doesn't go past 11 o'clock like the Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era? Is it because we have to pay more to USA? No, there's just not really a reason to have an overrun anymore. Back in the Attitude Era, they were head-to-head most weeks with Nitro. So they would have the overrun. Nitro, started, giving away the results. And then Vince started, I remember when WWE tried to do the thing in the 90s where Raw would come on at 7:57 or 8:57 or whatever it was. They came on 3 minutes early just to try to get the jump on Nitro to where there's wrestling on before they come on the air. But that was a stupid strategy because WCW has a lot more pull with their network. WWE had to bend over backwards to get anything accomplished with USA. So, where WCW could basically do whatever they wanted over there. So they were like, fine, we'll come up 2 minutes before that. And all that work you went into to go up at 8:57 and all that promotion, we've now, one-upped you there too. And we're going to give the results of your show on top of that. So it was needed back in those days. So when you're doing ratings battles and things like that, the tide kind of turned on WCW where, the Time Warner thing happened and then they became less of a priority with TNT. They couldn't really, pull their own strings anymore. So where they were handcuffed. So WWE, was pulling in such huge ratings. USA was going to then let them do whatever they wanted. So them running, I think they would always run 3 to 8 minutes over. Sometimes it would be a quarter past the hour they would run just to get that extra boost, in their ratings and continue their annihilation of WCW. Where nowadays it's a 3-hour show. I don't want 3 hours and 15 minutes. I want 3 hours. Don't you torture us enough. And if you add another 10 minutes of content, sometimes you're going to have a small overrun, 1 or 2 minutes or something like that. But there's really no need to do an overrun anymore. NXT seems to have one still that they were kind of doing during the AEW battle, and it feels like they're still kind of doing it now. But yeah, there's really not a need for that anymore. And there was a time, and Victor's right, there was a point in time where there was a conscious decision to stop the overruns. I can't recall when that was, but it was in recent history, last couple years. They decided not to do that, and they don't really need to. Raw's not going up against anything competition-wise, and by the time Raw does end, we're all ready for it to end. All of us are like, please fucking end this shit. We're back in the Attitude Era. It was much better because it was only a 2-hour show. So when you ran, 8 minutes after, 10 minutes after, sometimes 12 and 15 minutes after, it gave you that extra content, and we loved it. But things are different now. Do I think David Arquette will work with AEW? That would be great. David Arquette's awesome. I met him outside the Staples Center a couple years ago. David Arquette's the best. I would love for him to come in. That would be interesting. Another throwback. AEW shows a lot more love to WCW than WWE does. That's for sure. So to bring David Arquette back, to TNT, that would be awesome. I don't know who owns the. Does WWE own the belt design of the big gold belt? Do they own that physical property? Can that belt design be brought back in another promotion and just have they trademarked that and owned it? It would be, I know AEW has their own title, but if you, tried to bring back a world heavyweight title or something, that might be kind of weird or kind of neat to see maybe Ric Flair come out with it or whatever. I'd be into that. Maybe not actually have it a championship, but just maybe bring it out on television, bring that belt out on TNT for the first time in 20 years. I don't think they can, but would be cool. I don't think AEW is moving to Monday nights. They need not do that. Just keep moving, just keep rolling, building your momentum. You're a young company. Don't get too big for your britches. Just do it. Sign your free agents. You got money and funding behind you. Take advantage of that. And just try to grow your numbers and try to be, a good alternative for wrestling fans that really just have a hard time, investing in WWE storytelling. You got another promotion out there to give you something to watch. So that's all I want out of them. I'm not looking for a winner in this war. I want both to exist. We've just seen that's why the tribalism in the wrestling community to me is so baffling, because I'm like, have you motherfuckers not been paying attention to the last 20 years? We just saw what having one company can do, to the wrestling business, and how great it was when there was two big companies. And even though AEW is young and not as big as WWE, from a financial perspective, they've got money behind them, so they can actually be a viable competition and alternative. That's what you want. So fans that are so one-sided in these wars and insist that somebody has to win, that's such a fucking stupid way of looking at things. That's not the way you want, from a wrestling perspective. Fans nowadays, is a whole new generation. They weren't even alive, most of them. for the Monday Night Wars. And if they were too young to understand and appreciate what the fuck was going on. So here, they've taken such sides to where you have cult-like mentalities on both sides. And it's kind of funny to watch the stupidity unravel on just a daily basis, because I'm like, man, we're on the verge of having competition for the first time in 20 years, and we never thought we'd see it again. So it's here, it's on cable TV, it's on the very same network that WCW was, with a lot of callbacks and throwbacks to them. They operate a different way, from business-wise and from a storytelling-wise and TV production-wise. They do give you a different looking product than WWE is. It's fundamentally different, and that's also good, instead of trying to be carbon copies of one another. And they're doing a lot of things on that front right, even though they do show their age at times, and they show their inexperience, and they do show that, they're only a couple of years old, and they're going to have some missteps here or there. But overall, they're competition, and they're here, and to revolt against that is fucking revolting. It's pretty stupid. So I don't want them to move to Mondays. I don't want them to try to compete head-to-head, even though I think they'll do a lot better than TNA did. If they did that, again, you're doing that deal where you're splitting the audience. Don't do that to your ratings, because if Dynamite starts drawing, securely over 1 million viewers every week, going to Raw isn't going to increase that. Or going to Mondays isn't going to increase that. It's going to decrease that. And it's also going to decrease Raw's rating, but then, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You're doing it you're doing it to decrease them instead of trying just to grow your own product. So, that's a mistake that was made by TNA, and really it was a mistake that was made by WCW. It just took them 5 years to realize it, because WCW went to live on Mondays head-to-head with Raw. 5 years later, they were dead. It took them 5 years to die. That's it. So it's not advisable, to do that. I wouldn't do it if I was them. Just keep growing, keep doing your thing, and the fans that just want nothing to do with WWE have a different night of the week that they can enjoy wrestling. And that don't have to choose or watch it back-to-back or watch 3 hours of one show and then DVR the other. I don't really want to go back to that, because even though the Monday Night Wars were very, very, very fun, what motivated the Monday Night Wars was bad philosophy. Bischoff's obsession with putting WWE out of business, I don't think needs to be Tony Khan's obsession. Tony Khan needs to be obsessed with having a successful wrestling company. That's all he needs to be obsessed with. And if he's obsessed with that and that only, I think they can do pretty well. So that's what I'm hoping for from a wrestling fan's perspective. What did JJ Leg say? There's a Scream 5 releasing in early 2022. Scream 5? I never saw Scream 1. I've never seen Scream. AEW brings in David Arquette for a little cross-promotion. With that added history would be cool. I could see that. Bring that fucking mask monster will definitely get in the ring at some point. David Arquette could come in 2022 and promote Scream. Why not? So are they filming that, or they're about to film it? Or it's already in the can. I don't know. Wasn't aware of Scream 5. Jesus. Okay, thank you for that. WWE owns the trademark to the big gold belt from WCW. Well, that's a shame. I wish it was still around. I wish they brought that belt back instead of the Universal title back in 2016. Oh, WWE's got has gotten lazy adding the old shows. That's a shame. That is a shame. Anyway, I need to be getting out of here. I need some dinner, but it's been a fun Raw review. You're going to get me a couple of times here in the next couple of days. Nothing tomorrow, but on Wednesday night following Dynamite, we're going to be up here for a Dynamite review. We'll talk about all things AEW. And then the next day on Thursday, I'm going to be up here for SummerSlam and TakeOver predictions before I head to Vegas for SummerSlam. So you will see me here in just a couple of days to talk about more wrestling stuff, follow up on the wrestling news, talk about CM Punk's debut on Friday, and anything else that happens to be going on Wednesday night when we're back up here live for the next time. So if you are not subscribed, make sure you do so. Tap that like button on your way out the door and keep a lookout for the links to Wednesday's Dynamite review and the SummerSlam predictions video that should be up sometime tomorrow. So appreciate you guys being here tonight. Have a good rest of your Monday evening, and I will catch you Wednesday.